It's getting crazy. It's getting spooky real fast. Very, very fast. I told y'all, people have had enough. All of y'all in the Indiana Fever organization who have been lying about this girl injury, not being transparent, and all these things that the fans are feeling, the fans are speaking back. They do not appreciate it. They feel scammed. They feel lied to.
Okay, this is wild. The Indiana Fever front office and coach Stephanie White just pulled off what looks like the worst disappearing act in WNBA history. They were lying in plain sight about Caitlin Clark's injury, hoping nobody would notice. Spoiler alert, fans absolutely noticed, and the receipts are everywhere. Footage, photos, timelines that just don't add up. Honestly, this whole thing feels less like a medical update and more like a full-blown cover-up. Did they seriously think in 2025 that people wouldn't fact-check every single word? The contradictions here are so glaring they're not just raising eyebrows, they're raising the possibility of an investigation into deceptive consumer practices. Fans are already asking if they were tricked into buying tickets, watching games, and buying merch under false pretenses.
Urge DOJ and FTC to investigate WNBA's misleading practices. Wow. So we are here now. And what's crazy about all of this is that, guys, this is I'm not going to come on here and say that they're going to lose, because if there was an investigation going into this team, they're not going to lose this investigation. Oh, they're going to win. Whoever is representing Caitlin is going to win.
Let me break this down for you. This isn't just some minor slip-up. This is a full-blown credibility crisis. Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever, stepped in front of the cameras, spun this neat little story about Clark's injury timeline, and honestly, she probably thought fans would just swallow it whole. But here's the kicker. When your dates don't line up with reality, people are absolutely going to tear it apart. It makes you wonder, do you still trust the Fever front office and coach Stephanie White after all this?
The Caitlin Clark injury situation is officially a mess because not only is there not more clarity, there's more confusion about what her timeline could be. And that's coming on the heels of it seeming to be pretty clear when Clark would return to the court, or about when she would return to the court. It was said on the ESPN broadcast on August 12th that Stephanie White hoped Clark would be back in practice this week. Open portion of practice, Clark is not seen. And Stephanie White afterwards said it's status quo until Clark is back at practice.
But hold up, let's rewind a second. Clark apparently injured her groin, thanks to a J.C. Sheldon knee in a game back in mid-July. With a possible return by the end of August, she was day-to-day. Practice was supposed to be ramping up. Yet, here we are, nearing the end of August, and Clark still isn't practicing with the team. What's even more insane is that another injury magically appeared. The official story they're pushing, Caitlin Clark got hurt in a workout around August 7th. Sounds tidy, right? Controlled. Super PR friendly. But here's the problem. Actual footage from that exact same date shows Clark casually strolling through Phoenix, rocking a designer Prada bag, like she's about to hit a runway. She's moving smoothly. No limp, no wince, zero visible discomfort. Fans know it, and the footage proves it.
Well, what changed? Right? I know there's never been a direct timeline, but all the signs seem to point in the direction of Clark returning soon. Even Natasha Howard saying, "See you soon, CC." Now it's like, wait and see. And there's further information coming out that Clark suffered a bit of an ankle injury in the midst of her recovery process. Did that hinder her return? One reporter saying yes, another reporter is saying no. Bottom line is, we need to know a little bit more. We don't need Caitlin Clark's in-depth medical report, but it's fair for fans to wonder if the Fever and the league's biggest star is going to return to the floor this season, or what the chances are. And she's been out of action for 5 weeks, so it's not as if some patience hasn't been expressed.
But here's where it gets crazy. Instead of just admitting the story didn't hold up, White and her PR team totally doubled down. And that's exactly where the real clown show began. You had reporters like Scott Agnes, who, let's be real, should be serving us facts, going on air and actually laughing as he retold this unlucky injury story. And it wasn't nervous laughter either, it was genuine chuckles, like Caitlyn's pain was the punchline to some sick comedy sketch. Are we seriously supposed to believe that the face of the entire league, the player single-handedly driving historic ratings, is sidelined and the media covering it thinks it's a joke? That's not just unprofessional, it's insulting to us, the fans, and incredibly disrespectful to Caitlin Clark herself.
The Indiana Fever's got $1 billion entity on their team. $1 billion damn dollars. And they're a bunch of clowns, a bunch of bozos. You guys look completely incompetent and unprofessional. The way this has been handled, oh, it's a joke. It's a joke. Look, and look, they can't say anything about conspiracy theories. You're complicit in creating them because you won't be open and you won't be honest.
And get this. This is exactly why the Fever's credibility is in a total freefall. Look, it's one thing to spin a narrative. Teams do it all the time. But to flat out lie and then grin while you're doing it, that's basically telling the entire fan base, hey, we think you're dumb enough to buy this. Newsflash, fans aren't dumb. Those social media receipts, they last forever. And people are absolutely piecing all of this together in real time.
You got this video right here that a lot of you have already seen. I just saw it in the last couple of days of Caitlin getting stepped on by a coach right there on the left.
Stepped on by the coach, and I think she's going to be all right based upon the grin on her face. But
the left foot, the one that's got the issue, she got stepped on. And today, I'm not even going to say Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin Clark fans are crashing out at a different level. And I don't blame them. I don't.
Oh, and here's the piece they really don't want you to think about. Remember that infamous moment when assistant coach Breon January literally stepped on Caitlin Clark's foot during a game? Yeah, that incident didn't just disappear. It just got buried under this whole fake workout narrative. Suddenly, the day she supposedly got hurt doesn't match the day we, the fans, actually saw something happen. So which is it? Was it just an innocent workout mishap? Or was Clark injured by the very staff who are supposed to protect her? And if it's the latter, then this is way bigger than just bad luck. This is negligence. Negligence that could absolutely trigger a major investigation.
You guys have said Caitlin Clark was day-to-day for I don't know how long. You guys have fabricated timelines on her injury many times throughout this season. And the people have just flat out had enough. And it's gone so.
Meanwhile, what's truly gut-wrenching is that Caitlin Clark herself has been dragged into this whole PR machine, forced to parrot sanitized talking points that sound absolutely nothing like her. They sound more like they were drafted by some Fever intern. Every single time she speaks on her recovery, it's the exact same lines. Working hard, feeling good, just unlucky. The repetition is robotic, the timing is beyond suspicious, and fans absolutely know the difference between authentic honesty and pure damage control. This practice is just unacceptable.
This isn't just disappointing, it's deceptive. Fans invested their hard-earned money in tickets, streaming packages, and merchandise under the belief that they were being given honest information. Instead, it appears coordinated efforts were made between the league and team communications to present a facade of hopeful updates, masking the true status of a beloved player's.
First off, let's be crystal clear. Clark is no rookie anymore. She's in her second season, she's the league's biggest star, and she's earned every single bit of that spotlight by selling out arenas and literally carrying WNBA ratings on her back. Yet here she is, being treated like some expendable pawn in a sloppy cover-up. Just imagine, in the NBA, if a coach or staff member had injured LeBron James or Steph Curry and then flat out lied about it, there would be 24/7 coverage, immediate investigations, and probably terminations. But in the WNBA, silence. Zero accountability, no transparency, just reporters acting like unpaid interns for the team.
Everybody's been hanging on. And even worse, everybody's been spending money on this team, which looks like a damn scheme at this point. The Indiana Fever know people have been spending money on tickets and travel and blah, 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 thinking that Caitlin Clark was her anticipated comeback. People tuning in and showing up at games, they need to understand that was because the idea, the aura that Caitlin Clark was coming back to lead this team into the playoffs.
The Fever's credibility, it's in shreds right now, and Stephanie White is absolutely at the center of this storm. Her attempt to distract fans with a fake timeline isn't just careless. You guys, it might be fraudulent. When you sell tickets, hype up games, and market merchandise all around a superstar, then intentionally mislead fans about her health, you are absolutely stepping into the territory of deceptive consumer practices. That's exactly the kind of behavior that gets investigated by watchdogs, by sponsors, and potentially even by legal authorities.
Goes on to say fans felt excited when they purchased tickets, believing they'll watch Caitlin Clark shine on the court. However, that excitement turned to disappointment as misleading injuries kept fueling false hopes that she had played the WNBA. And hold up, damn, is they finna get a for line? Is they finna get a for line to the fans? Oh my God. Hold up, the WNBA and Indiana Fever fans, Indiana Fever have repeatedly engaged in what seems to be a strategic ploy to drive ticket sale and merchandise sales by suggesting that Caitlin Clark return was on the horizon. Holy-ish right now, bro. Oh my God, it's about to get red.
And here's the spiciest theory circulating right now. What if this isn't just incompetence? What if it's intentional? Clark burst into the league like a tidal wave, absolutely shattering ratings and rewriting narratives. But almost immediately, the whispers started. She needs to bulk up. She needs more strength. She's not ready. So what happens? She's rushed into muscle gain, her body breaks down, and suddenly her second season is totally clouded by injury talk. That's not bad luck, you guys. That's bad planning. And bad planning always has a culprit. In this case, the finger points directly at Stephanie White and her staff.
I feel like they were lying about her injury as far as like the severity of it. I think it's a really bad injury. I think when they rushed her back that one time, I think she hurt it even more and it pushed the timeline back.
Trying to come back and come back quickly. She needs to make sure that she's 100%. Her competitor wants to play. We're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing.
As bad as it might sound, I think it might be like a season-ending level type of injury, and they're hoping to get in the playoffs and they can somehow get her during the playoffs.
Fans are openly saying Caitlin Clark should just ditch the Fever's medical staff and go straight back to her Iowa doctors, the ones she can actually trust. And honestly, can you blame them? If the front office is lying about when she got hurt, then what else are they hiding? Are they downplaying the severity? Are they rushing her back to boost ticket sales? These aren't some wild conspiracy theories, folks. These are legitimate concerns fans are raising because the Fever haven't given one single straight answer from the start. The silence here speaks so much louder than their scripted lines, and it absolutely screams, cover up.
And the craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered. The day after she had the groin injury, she was listed as day-to-day. And then a couple weeks after that, then she was listed to being out indefinitely. Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court. And just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
Stephanie White seriously thought she could just step up to the podium, flash a smile, and sell us this workout injury fairy tale like we're all completely clueless. But here's the kicker. The more she repeats it, the more cracks show in her story. And every single time she doubles down, she makes herself and the entire franchise look even more dishonest. Instead of protecting Caitlin, White is absolutely torching her own credibility and dragging the Fever straight into scandal territory. And trust me, Fever fans aren't blind to any of this. They are exhausted. They've watched Caitlin Clark get hammered by defenders, completely ignored by refs, targeted by jealous players, and now they've got to watch her mishandled by her own team. Imagine being the most hyped women's basketball player in decades, breaking attendance records, setting TV viewership highs, and your reward is being lied about when you're hurt. That's not just mismanagement, you guys. It's malpractice. That's how you ruin a superstar before she even hits her prime.
This has been all over the place, and I get it to a certain extent. The fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information, and that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But the reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has been shared about it.
Here's why this matters beyond just Indiana. Caitlin Clark is literally the WNBA right now. She's the engine, she's the reason casual sports fans even know when games are on. Her presence fills arenas, drives TV contracts, and keeps sponsors interested. You take Caitlin out of the equation, and the ripple effect is immediate. Attendance slips, ratings collapse, and those lucrative corporate partnerships, they start pulling back. That's why Stephanie White's cover-up isn't just a PR disaster, it's a potential consumer fraud issue. Because if fans are buying tickets under the impression Clark might play when the organization knows she won't, that's false advertising. And that is exactly the type of deceptive practice that triggers investigations.
When does this happen in sports, where someone this valuable suffers an injury and you don't tell people about it until 2 weeks later, once speculation about Caitlin Clark starts running rampant? Once people start finally muster up the courage to say, hey, this is weird. Caitlin Clark has disappeared and vanished. She doesn't talk to reporters. We're getting no legitimate information from anybody in the Indiana Fever organization. This is the biggest star in sports.
And let's talk timing, because this entire situation just stinks to high heaven. Just as Caitlin was really heating up and the Fever were finally showing some life, suddenly she's sidelined under this vague, phony timeline. The team starts stumbling again, and all that momentum just dies. Whether it's intentional or not, that's sabotage. And the worst part, White didn't just stay quiet. She went on camera and spun a completely fake narrative, making the fallout 10 times worse.
Look, anybody who saw this could have maybe thought something was up. Breanne January stepping on Caitlin Clark here. August 9th. Left ankle. That's where the bone bruise supposedly happened. On August 7th, which is what is being shared now. And, you know, some of these things you hear rumblings about, and you don't know exactly what's going on.
But zoom out and get this. This is way bigger than just one lie. This is about an entire culture of disrespect that's been surrounding Caitlin Clark since the second she set foot in the league. From refs swallowing whistles on blatant hacks, to commentators nitpicking her every single shot, to jealous players physically targeting her, and now her own coach is just adding lies to the pile. It almost feels coordinated, like the league is genuinely afraid of her stardom. Yet, here's the twist. Every single time someone tries to dim her shine, her fan base only grows louder, more loyal, and more defiant. Still, we absolutely can't pretend this isn't dangerous. Caitlin Clark isn't a machine, she's human. Every mishandled injury, every rushed return, every shady media spin chips away at her career longevity. That's the nightmare scenario, the WNBA's brightest star being forced into an early decline because her own team couldn't be honest or careful. And if that happens, the backlash against Stephanie White and the Fever won't just be harsh, it'll be absolutely historic.
I have to figure it out. The people have had enough. I'm going to let you know exactly what I'm talking about. This thing is picking up steam, and it's a bad look. It's a bad look. It's a bad look, all because you guys refuse to be transparent about Caitlin Clark injuries and injuries around the league.
And get this. White has already guaranteed her own regret. By lying, she didn't just try to cover up an injury, she lit a fuse. Now fans are scrutinizing her every single word. Reporters outside of Indiana are circling, and once national outlets truly dig in, this story is going to explode. When that happens, the Fever won't just be facing angry fans. They could be staring down sponsors pulling their money, media scrutiny they absolutely can't control, and even a league or federal probe into deceptive practices.
Lawsuits. Fans, y'all, we might have a case here. We might have a case to sue not only the Indiana Fever, but the WNBA for misleading us, having us thinking Caitlin Clark was going to come back, because we all remember when Stephanie White was on ESPN, she stated Caitlin Clark was on her way to come back and practice and get ready to make a return of a lifetime to the Indiana Fever. Oh, yeah, she said that when around the 12th. Well, judging off your sources, if she got hurt around the 7th, you knew prior to you going to ESPN that Caitlin Clark wasn't coming back when you said she was going to come back. You're lying. You're lying and you're misleading, and it's looking real spooky. And I'm happy the fans is standing up.
Because let me be blunt, this isn't just bad optics, it's potentially illegal, selling a product, whether that's tickets, broadcasts, or merchandise, all on the back of a superstar, while knowingly misrepresenting her availability. You guys, that is consumer fraud, and if regulators or watchdog groups catch wind of it, the Indiana Fever and Stephanie White won't just be cleaning up a PR mess. They'll be answering real questions and facing real investigations.
All right? People have been trying to stay invested because the GOAT was supposed to be coming back. I mean, seriously. So let's just take a little of the temperature in the room. I'm not happy with the Fever front office and their fan communications. I have tickets I paid for months ago to go to next Tuesday's game. I have airline tickets. I have hotel, restaurant reservations made.
And here's the tragic irony. Caitlin Clark knows all of this. She's far too smart not to. She knows those timelines don't add up. She knows the spin isn't real, but she's trapped, forced to nod and smile, because calling out her own coach mid-season would instantly label her difficult. She's being silenced in her own story. And honestly, that's the saddest part of all. So, where does this go from here? We've got two options. Either the Fever finally come clean, admit the mishandling, and start treating Caitlin like the franchise player she is. Or, more likely, they keep lying. Fans keep stacking receipts, and eventually, the whole thing detonates. And when it does, Stephanie White won't just regret lying. She'll regret totally underestimating the power of Caitlin Clark's fan base, the media, and the very real possibility of an investigation that could absolutely rock the WNBA.
They've put out some information to throw us off the trail. This is part of the cover-up of like, there's something weird going on with Caitlin Clark. She's been put in a position to where it's best for her. It's been explained to her. Hey, for your mental health, we got to keep you away from the cameras, away from the media. We have to keep you off the court because...
Now let's talk fallout, because if this deception actually sticks, the Indiana Fever aren't just facing angry tweets, you guys. They're staring down a potential investigation that could absolutely shake the WNBA to its core. Think about it. If fans paid for tickets under the belief Caitlin Clark might play when the organization knew the truth, that edges dangerously close to deceptive consumer practices, and regulators do not mess around with that. We're talking about possible fines, class action lawsuits from fans, and even sponsors pulling their money until the Fever and the entire league clean this mess up.
I am devastated that Sophie Cunningham is now out, and I would like to know if Caitlin Clark will be playing. It's not too much to ask. The Fever need to be more transparent. Absolutely. Absolutely. I shared that. A lot of fans are in this exact situation. Come on. If Caitlin Clark is gone for the year, it's time to show a pair and admit it. Admit it. I got to tell you guys, it's time to go to Fever social media and began demanding, is Caitlin Clark coming back this year or not?
Sponsors, in particular, will absolutely not tolerate being tied to this kind of scandal. These companies are investing millions in Clark's star power, not in a team spinning fairy tales about her health. If they sense even an ounce of deception, they'll walk away, and they'll take their advertising dollars right along with them. That's a nightmare scenario for a league desperately trying to prove it belongs on the national stage. And don't think the league office is immune here. If national reporters start hammering on this story, Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA brass will be forced to act. That could mean hiring independent medical evaluators, setting stricter transparency rules, or even launching an internal probe into the Fever's handling of Clark's injury. Once the words league investigations start circulating, you know this saga has gone from bad PR to full-blown crisis management.
The pattern of communication between league officials and team medical reports raised concerns of coordinated misrepresentation rather than independent, factual reporting. The coordinated messages suggest an underlying intent to protect revenue streams at the expense of fan loyalty and trust. Economic harm has been inflicted on countless fans who, based on false pretenses, spent money they have not otherwise parted with. They might not have otherwise parted with if they had known Caitlin Clark wouldn't be taken to court.
But here's the ultimate twist. The scandal isn't just about Caitlin Clark's injury, it's about trust. Trust between fans and the Fever. Trust between sponsors and the WNBA. Trust between players and the league office. And right now, every single lie chips away at that incredibly fragile foundation. Once trust breaks, it's almost impossible to rebuild. At the end of the day, Caitlin Clark is the face of women's basketball, the biggest star the WNBA has ever had, and she deserves honesty, protection, and respect. The lies surrounding her injury aren't just sloppy, they are genuinely dangerous. They threaten her career, the Fever's credibility, and the league's entire future. We can't let this slide. We need to demand answers. We need to hold the Fever accountable. We need to ask the tough questions. The local reporters won't. Because if this scandal proves anything, it's that Caitlin Clark deserves better. And fans won't stop until she gets it. What do you think? Is this just a sloppy cover-up, or are we looking at a full-scale investigation waiting to explode?